vegetables, and Director of Instrumental Music at the Orange County School of Arts and piano faculty of the Pasadena Conservatory of Music. We're very, very honored to have Dr. Sarkis with us again. The first performer will be Emma Wang.
Hi. So my name is Emma Wang, and today I'm going to be playing Claire de Lune and Chopin Nocturne. I think that's Opus 9, number 1 or something. I believe. I kind of forgot.
Would you like to play both pieces? Excuse me. Would you like to play both pieces and then we can talk about them? Would that work better for you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's do that. Beautiful. Very musical performances of both the Debussy and the Chopin. You play with a lot of involvement, musical involvement. You understand the music. You seem quite comfortable um, creating the phrasing, getting the sounds that you want. And even on Zoom, we can hear a lot of the nuances that you're creating, which is really, really wonderful. Um, let's talk about each piece. We'll start with Debussy in that order.
Okay.
You can open up your score. Um, I love the mood that you set in Clair de Lune. You know, excellent pacing in the opening section. A lot of the chords, the depth of the chords was really wonderfully shaped and really derived. And I love that very much. On a technical level, I want to talk about, especially in the middle section, you were not always as comfortable in the left hand. Some of the arpeggios, the accuracy, and I'm not just talking not accuracy, but also harmonic support could be more pronounced and more supportive generally.
Okay.
Another thing, and this also could be Zoom because the sound reverberates at time. We have some of the bandwidth frequency continuing, but I felt some of your pedaling was not always refreshed on time. And there is this common misconception with Debussy generally that, well, he's a impressionistic composer, a term which he despised, I'm sure you know about, to be coined with him. And as such, we can blend and we can mix a lot of colors almost arbitrarily. And that's far from the truth. You still have to change the pedal when the harmony does change. Yes, it allows for more length and more texture, but still the overall clarity has to be there. I'll show you some specific spots where that was happening. And again, I would like to apologize. It could be that it's just Zoom, the way it processes audio over the internet. It might be that you're doing it perfectly, but that's how it came to me. So I'm going to comment on what I heard. So that's one of the ways to talk about it. A few little household items in the tempo rubato. When you have the second measure of it, you should play with the B flat in the right hand, E flat octave in the left hand, you did it only with left hand there, and there is one more note in the third measure of the tempo rubato. Can we try it right from there at the tempo rubato one more time? Good. So, Emma, can you tell me what is your understanding of tempo rubato? How do you interpret that?
Like you're just like kind of like a little dragging, like a little slower.
Yeah, you steal time. You take time away. So I'm asking you because you can be more free here in your gestures, have more space. Again, enjoy the gorgeous sonority. This bass, you know, a lot of it, he was very much drawn to Asian culture, to Indonesian in particular, with the gamelan and the Balinese, so there's a lot of these drones. You hear these gongs. So this kind of, enjoy the length of that long E flat. So here, have more freedom. You don't have to be super metrical and super in tempo. As a matter of fact, the entire opening section, I mean, even just this, feel more freedom. It just really has that kind of feel to it. And if you listen to the sonority of every bass line, of every chord, how it resonates, how it carries, just listen to that feedback. This piece has been done so much. I mean, it's one of the, if you do a survey in the musical literature, this is probably one of the most famous pieces ever. I mean, everybody knows it. It's been in movies. So people do all sorts of stuff with this. It's kind of overplayed at times, just like the Moonlight Sonata of Beethoven. There's just certain works that they have that kind of appeal to audiences. And yet it's a very personal, very sincere piece. So you have to decide what it means to you. I'm not asking you, oh, just do it exactly like I did. No, it's your interpretation. But I want to ask you to have a little more freedom of the sound. So when you draw the sound, it's a little bit slower. The arrival, the descent into each chord, into each octave should be a little slower, more stately, lush, very spacious. And most importantly, listening to the feedback. Each chord you play, I want you to listen to the sound. I had once a colleague who played a recital, and this was on the program, and he had the lights, the house lights dimmed. So complete darkness in the hall and only a spotlight on the piano, blue spotlight on the piano, to evoke the mood of the piece. So I want you to kind of think of that. Like, imagine you're all by yourself and you just create this image. You have this in your mind of the sound that you want to create. But I just want you to have more freedom. Now, the middle section, on the other hand, starting with Un poco mosso, can move a little more. That can go forward more. And especially when you get into that can open up more. That can be more exciting. That can be more passionate and agitated, and you can reach a higher level of that. The piece really reaches a very high emotional content. So you can pace it from the very beginning of how you reach to that point. Can we try one more time from the tempo rubato, those chords? Good. And don't rush. So here, look. And one. You're slightly early on the downbeat. And one. You go from there. careful. There is the wrong chord here. It should be A flat, C, F, and A flat. F. Yes. That's right. Good. But one thing, please go all the way to the chord. There is really no diminuendo there. So the entire section, you start from here, it needs to build all the way to this chord. And then from that point on, with each chord, you will fade away. But it must carry. So from here, and then the last one. Then you go from there. So pace it, start from nothing, and use the harmony to help you generate that kind of drive. Let's try it one more time from that spot, the same spot we began before. Good. Let's continue. Now let's continue. So when you start the first note, remember it's pianissimo, so it should still be a little under. After all of this, the water starts moving, but it doesn't move right away. So think about this. What I like to do is to have you practice the left hand line with both hands. And then you can do to create that motion. That should be very fluid. And that will be something I'm going to ask you to continue practicing further to really establish such control that you can play it so effortlessly that you can only think about the music and the color. I felt a little bit of labor going into those 16-note arpeggios in the left hand in particular. So I just want you to feel very free. And then you add and then the next level is piano. So it's a little more than the first level, a little brighter. Here we start. Then here then we move, and then finally, so the textures shift from the lower register to the higher register. And each section has its own color, has its own character. And with each one, the harmony is evolving, and therefore the sound is also evolving. So start the menomosto, the pocomosto, just a little more on the backside, not right away in full tempo, but feeling like it's just starting to move. And start a little under first, a little softer. Try that. Okay, careful. That's a D sharp and F sharp in the left hand. I'm hearing a C sharp instead. Can we try it from the animal? Now use the arm to lean on the long notes. This. So a lot of this. You have to use the arm. You need to build up sound. You need to get to a forte level, which happens to be the loudest dynamic level we have here. So you need to change the texture. Can you go from the animal? Lean on this. Also in the left hand, you have the dotted quarter note. Use your arm weight to lean on the first note of the group. Careful. Yes. Okay, so these two measures are not very comfortable. Fingering wise, you can use 5-2 in the left hand, 5-2-1, 4-3-2, and then 1-2-1-2-3-4. 1-2-1-2-3-4. It's very important. The left hand has to really help you rise up there. And then the right hand is here. You look, use your arm. Can you look at the camera? Yes. This way. You need more sound. If you just go with a, you're not gonna get that. Use this. And then you get a much better sound too. Good. So this section, I would like you to practice without pedal. I'm hearing some here. The left hand, it's rather approximate. I'm not getting the right notes. Or as well the right hand. What is your harmony? So you have to really go without pedal. Slowly. And really clean this up. I like the color that you're getting, but the composure, the accuracy of the notes is not there. So this calmato section would be one to take separately. You can even do hand separate just to hear the voices individually. All of this. A lot of these left-hand patterns you have to really learn to perfection. So there is not even a doubt, is this the fifth finger here or do I go to the thumb there? It's just almost automatic. You let the finger memory take care of that. There's no time to think too much. So one of the things I was talking about pedaling earlier is in the tempo primo. Here. You have to change the pedal here on each. Change here. You enjoy the long harmony, but when the harmony does change, you have to also change the pedal. Change. So we have always different chords. If you play it in chords. So as chords change, so does the pedal with them. But you still maintain that long line that you did so beautifully, but only with the difference is that you do shift the pedal on all of these. It's very helpful to practice again just in chords. You reduce everything in a chord structure, so you hear, oh, that's a D flat major chord, that's an F minor, that's an E flat, and you hear it as a block, and then you play together with the pedal on each of the chord changes. Then you hear how long you want each chord and each pedal to sustain, and then it works really well. That's always the difficulty with Debussy. We feel like, oh, we can use a lot of pedal, it's okay. Yeah, we can, but not to the point where we obscure the harmony so much. It still needs to have a lot of clarity into that. So just take it apart, work with the music, go over the left-hand lines a little more carefully, just to kind of add the final touch to give you the comfort to really play things, you know, with a much greater ease. Let's talk about Chopin. I really like your Chopin. I think it's very, very well done and interpreted. Few things I want to suggest to you. First of all, you have all these ralentandos that are in the score, and you should do it, but you should do it a little less, less presently than you did, not so much exaggerated. Poco means little, just a little. So what happens is this piece, you have this left-hand line throughout. Now imagine what happens if you have this flow, then all of a sudden you go, and then you have to go, you see, the left hand should not be altered much. It should pretty much sustain its flow throughout. So the rubato that you take needs to be very delicate, very subtle. Then the other thing, do you want to do the same rubato every time? For example, do you have measure numbers?
Yes.
Okay, so you did one in measure 23. Then my question to you, do you want to do identical one in measure 31 and 32, which you did? But do you really want to do it the same way? I wouldn't. I would do always something different. Maybe a little more the first time, maybe none the second. There's quite a few repeats. I mean, in terms of the melodic content, you want to always do something different. That way, audience can never guess what you're going to do next. You don't want to become predictable. Now, my biggest kind of comment and suggestion for playing the piece and for continuing developing with the piece, you need to think more as a singer. Do you know, have you heard much Italian opera, the bel canto style of singing?
Kind of.
Yeah?
Kind of, like not really.
Yeah. So what I would like you to do as a project, it's a really fun project, listen to some operas, particularly of Bellini. Vincenzo Bellini, the Italian composer, whom Chopin really liked as a composer. And in the early set of nocturnes, Chopin, Opus 9, Opus 15, Chopin is very much inspired by Italian opera. Late nocturnes, not so much. But early nocturnes, when he's writing them, he was listening to a lot of Italian opera, and it was really, I mean, Bellini was a great composer, Donizetti, but Bellini in particular. It will really help you to understand the music and the breathing of it much more, rather than approach it pianistically only. That way, you hear how the singer shapes the lines, the singer breathes. And Italian opera, as you know, you always had the soprano star, let's say, or the tenor star, and then the orchestra is accompanying. Think of your left hand as being the orchestra. So this. And the conductor is basically muting the orchestra and then letting the soprano or tenor star take it. They take time, they take rubato, they have all these flourishes, all these cadenzas. So I want you to develop that kind of freedom of phrasing and rubato in the right hand with a lot of volume at times, less others, but most importantly, the style. So the style you can really understand much more, not just by practicing this piece only, but just by listening to some Bellini operas. Then you start understanding how he phrases, how they take the breath. And then immediately when you start this, see, as a pianist, we can do very easy. We can do the cadenza like with fingers, but singer would not do that. They're going to go. You know, they will color very differently throughout. It will have a beautiful shape. It rises, it comes down, it rises again. Pianists, we just go easy, no problem. But if you really listen to that phrasing, then immediately you hear it. It's very similar to when you work on Mozart, you listen to a lot of Mozart operas, then you start understanding how the singing is when you play the scales in the piano part, you don't play them like a pianist, you play them more like the way singer will shade them. So essentially, this is think of this nocturne almost as an Italian opera. And then you have all these cadenzas, all these, the middle section, the drama, the plot thickens, the plot develops. You have much more of more turbulent, more orchestral. It rises up, But everything done more or less with the continuation of the line, rather than taking too much time of slowing down, then picking up again and slowing. So make it much more seamless when it comes to that. What I would do is you can also practice the left hand with both hands, like I showed you. What that does, it gives you an idea of what the potential of the sound and the phrasing is. It's much easier, of course, to play with both hands. But you hear how smooth, uninterrupted it can be. Now you have a concept in your ear. And then you aspire to that concept when you play the left hand alone, the way it's written. But in order to aspire to something, you first have to hear it. And that's a really helpful way with two hands. Just feel that. And then you do the left hand perfectly with that flow. Now the right hand is free to shape. Go forward, come back, rise up, breathe, and then come back to that. That's really what you should be doing. Everything else you're doing so well, very well prepared, nice contrasts, style, everything is there. So it's the final step. It's kind of like the cherry on top of the cake that you need right now. Just listen to some great Italian opera. You'll be very inspired with that. And it'll give you that extra, joy to put into your Chopin nocturne. Great hearing you today. Good luck to you in your studies.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Dr. Sarkis. The next performer will be Emily. Hello, Dr. Sarkis. I'm sorry. I'm hosting this masterclass, so I'm running around.
No problem. I was muted. Hello.
Hello.
All right.
happened?
Apology, I accidentally pressed your mute button. Yes, thank you. Apologies. Yeah, just at the last chord.
Oh, okay.
I was unmuting myself and I pressed your button.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So continue.
Just the last three measures if you can. Take the score or use the score. Use the score. We're going to work on it anyway. Good. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Very solid performance. Both technically, musically, well thought out. You know, you have a strong concept about the music. You worked a lot on details. Excellent technique. You play with ease. I mean, everything is there. So what I'm going to talk about, as I mentioned last week in my first class, we had a Bach, and again, Prelude and Fugue in B flat major. A lot of the ideas that we have in Bach, they're very, I mean, in many ways subjective, and many ways they're open to various ways of interpreting. So you kind of have to have an open mind, explore different options, and at the end, you will do what you believe is best. But what I want to do today, I want to talk about possibilities of what else we can do. Again, I'm not here to change what you do, because what you do is very convincing. There's many ways of playing, like going back to the prelude, for example. Your interpretation is one very convincing way of doing it. There's also another way, which I like particularly, and that is a more melodic approach to it. Again, I'm not here to say do. I'm just here to say try it, and then debate, practice, experiment, and then decide what works. Because again, this was not written for the piano. This was written for either harpsichord, clavichord, or organ. And then there's also a lot of orchestral gestures as well. So one has to decide texturally what we can do to make it more interesting. Now, I'll tell you the pros and cons. Your approach is very clear. Excellent technique. I mean, everything was just beautifully done. At times, it may sound a little on the technical side. It's too much of, on the modern piano. I mean, if you want to play this on a harpsichord, perfect approach. That's how it should be done. On a modern piano, you need to think a little differently in terms of point of attack, volume, texture, and overall sound. So what I'm thinking about, first of all, if you can hear this linear progression into the music. C sharp major is a very awkward key. This could have been written much easier in D flat major, but he's doing it because he's following the tonal plan of the well-tempered clavier. In a way, he's also challenging the performer. You know, back in 1720s, C sharp major would not be played as easily by most performers. Today, we're used to it. We've done it all. But also think about what kind of key signature, C sharp, then D sharp minor. So I kind of want you to use the solid technique that you have, but also to think about maybe to make it a little more musical and a little more aware of all these wonderful harmonic changes. Yes, it's all written with 16 notes, And this is what's interesting about this one. On first sight, you look at it, well, you say it's a very kind of dynamic prelude, but actually when you look deeper, it's one of the more melodious, continuously melodious preludes in the entire well-tempered clavier. So as such, I'm looking for this, the blend with the left hand as well, versus it's very good, it's excellent, but it doesn't really bring always the harmonic line. So if you can come up with a blend between your original approach, which is, again, I'm not really debating, I like what you're doing. You don't have to play like Andras Schiff does, you don't have to play, you can play your way, which is very good. But still, within your way, if you can make it more aware of all of this, and even hear the left hand. So this diminished harmony. Again, for my personal taste, I felt your tempo was a bit on the faster side. Again, it works, but it doesn't always allow you to bring out the clarity and content of every note.
Okay.
All of it, and then you go to the middle, to the lower register. And this is a cadenza, could be more improvisatory. More of that, more free. It's a really nice coda kind of that he's writing there. So think more chords. All of this, it's very, very chromatic with the double sharps, already C sharp major being such a complex key to execute, and then you're being thrown with number of minor keys of D sharp, and each one has a different temperament, a different character. So I just want you to be aware of that as you play them. So let's try it one more time, just experiment how else we can do this. Thank you, beautiful, excellent. Few little things I want to talk about. Do you have measure numbers?
Yes.
Okay, measure 7, left hand. Can you not attack the C sharp as much? It's a little too much. You have this same thing in measure 23. Instead, make it melodic by leaning on it. Versus da, 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 da. That vertical sound, it splashes, but it doesn't really carry well. Then, compare, let's mirror both voices. Measure 33, the right hand, you do excellent job with articulation. However, in measure 35, left hand, you do a completely different, much faster approach. They should be similar in nature. Instead, in the left hand, you go. agitated and more kind of bright, and so it doesn't go with the character. Same thing in measure 39 in the right hand versus 43 in left hand. I kind of want you to think also as a string player. Pum, pum, para, pa, 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 param, pum, pum. A little bit of that, not so much as a keyboardist always. As a keyboardist, we play fast, we play direct, we go, and I mean, it's easy for us to do things. But more pum, 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 pum. It's very elegant. And the fugue too, we'll get to it in a minute. It should be a little lighter and livelier texturally, not so much into every one, you know. So you've got such great technique, you play everything very easily. So you can actually, you don't have to even work very hard. Like most have to work very hard to make this. You have the luxury of not have to work hard. So you can kind of sit back and more or less kind of listen. Listen to every voice, like a conductor shapes the first violin section, then responds to the cello section. Pum pum parara, pum parara, pum pum parara. The way sometimes it comes through to me is that it's very driven, but you're not seeing some of the finer details along the way. And I know it's a kind of true composed, it's a faster movement prelude. So you say, well, there's not much time, I cannot take liberty. But I'm asking you to harmonically bring out the events with more prominence. Pum, 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 parara, pum, pum, pum. Every voice with its exact style, texture, volume, articulation. Try it one more time from the beginning, please. Just and when you start this, kind of no tension. You know, it's like there are pieces that we start, even the C minor, that it's so. We're almost like going on war when we started. You know, you don't have. It doesn't have to be. So. More easy. Param, 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 param. Try that. Good, thank you, much better. Few things. It could be zoom also, but I'll tell you anyway. Measures 47 to 53 in the right hand, there was a lot of accent on the 8th note. If you can gravitate more towards the quarter note. Again, again, it could be that Zoom sometimes amplifies the higher frequencies, so I don't want to say for sure that this is what you did, but I want to mention it. Now, measure 63. Get excited harmonically, but don't do accelerando. You're getting significantly faster. That pulse has to be so interesting. This scale. Next, C sharp minor. You know, but it should still be in whatever. I would use the left hand a lot more for both rhythmic pulse and harmonic intensity to help you in your approach. Left hand is everything, always. I mean, in every, not just Bach, in every composer. So if you can really feel from the beginning this, you know, it's such a, you know, mostly single line in the left hand. You don't have really chords here until the last two measures. But yet, that single note intensity should really be felt. What is your progression, you know? So I would like to have more inner intensity building with the harmony, but not translating into speed.
Okay.
Just harmonic expansion. Can we try a little earlier, maybe from 47, and then try those pam, param, param, param. Thank you. That was lovely, by the way. Wonderful. Really wonderful. Perfect sound. One suggestion, measure 83. Play a little more plucked active finger approach. You're working too hard with the wrist there, and it's crowded, both physically and harmonically. You can play actually easier. So a little more, just simple. Stay very close to the key and just pluck the finger. Versus, too much of this. You don't need that toccata style. It's more narrow, more crowded. So just finger, simple. I love that build up, by the way. The 71, 73, really fantastic tension you built there. It was really great. You know, it's kind of awkward to start there, but can you go 77, 8, 70, 79? Are you okay starting there? Actually, you should be able to start anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, just so you know, practice starting absolutely anywhere. Like in the most illogical place. I purposely do this, by the way, asking you to start in this kind of spots. I know it's a very nasty thing to do, but in Bach, you know how if something were to happen in performance, we're not immune. He's the most scary composer to perform for me. I mean, Bach and Mozart, it's just so exposed. But one thing that gives you an edge is to really know the music so well and in practice start absolutely anywhere, like in the middle of the beat, in the middle of the measure, not just the beginning of each section, not just the beginning of each harmony, like literally everywhere. Same in the fugue, even more so, because of all this complexity. That's a really important thing to do, you know. So that's why I don't feel terribly bad when I asked you to start in a place like that, rather than it has an educational purpose. And you will know, as you have more experience in many performances, that will be the difference maker in a performance. Because no matter how well you're prepared, even the greatest, you know, even Andras Schiff has been having some memory slips in his preludes and fugues, which, I mean, but he can cover really well because of that knowledge, because of their ability to play, to work with the harmony and to know your place every time. So try it. Right at 79. A sharp. Good. And to me, these two pam, 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 pam are more upward gesture than down gesture. Some even play them broken. You don't have to, but just so you know, on a harpsichord, it was customarily to play chords like this broken. So you don't have to, but even then, just when you play them together, think of this pam pam pa versus, see, in Beethoven it will be more down, more of that downbeat. Here it's a little more up. Mozart, Bach, pa pa pa. And I will do with the separate gesture. If you're going to use pedal, separate pedal. Pam, pam, pam. They're 8 notes, so they shouldn't be prolonged so much to go pam, pam, pam. I'm thinking of an orchestra here. I'm thinking of an orchestral sound, unified, very together. Pam, pam, pam. Off. Good, good, much better. So explore. Again, your approach is excellent, but I think there is a lot of potential here, what you can do with the tempo control, and most importantly, exploring the rich harmony that it's found here, which often gets ignored because of the way the piece is written with a fast moving 16 notes. It's hard to hear those things. So I kind of want you to take out and then get the blueprint of the chords, of the textures, just hear it, and then decide, this is how I want to hear this one. This is how I want to color this texture. And then all of a sudden you realize that it's not the most important thing. It's not motoric. It's actually melodic instead. And then you decide how you want to interpret. That's your, your decision at the end. You don't have to follow what I recommended. Now let's go to the fugue. I will tell you general comment for the fugue, and then I'll tell you specific things. As a general comment, my feeling is that this fugue should be a little lighter. Pam parararam pam parararam pam 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 parararam pam pa. More of this upbeat, dance, lively approach. Of course, you've got a lot of textural things, but still the overall character should be that, more light. Now, it could be on a more specific comment, it could be Zoom again, but I'm not hearing a lot of the sustaining longer voices. And I'm referring to anything that has to do with the quarter note that you have to hold, like measure 8. All of this, I'm not hearing, like measure 11 in the left-hand voice. There's a lot of these voices. And again, maybe, I'm looking, you're holding it, but the sound sure doesn't hold. You have to also distinguish between the 8th note and the quarter note. Like, you have this gesture in measure 18. Pa, pa. That's an upbeat on the 8th note. Sometimes your 8 notes became tara slurred. Pam, pam, parararam, pam, pa, 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 pa. So be more clear when it comes to that kind of articulation. So let's go over it one more time. This time we'll stop and go. Maybe not as quick for now. Another thing I wanted to ask you, as you are playing the 3 voices, have a more distinguished contrast between each, between your soprano, alto, bass. Imagine the human voice, how different the human voice sounds in each register and in each of the voices. So bring that sound. The piano is capable of showing that difference. Pam parararam pam pam, tom parararam pam pam, tom parararam pam pam. The bass, So show us the depth and the contrast between each entrance according to the voice they represent. They shouldn't be identical. It's like you're just playing it because, that's the subject line and I have to bring it out. It should come in each with its individual color. Good, thank you. So measure 16. Prior to that, you were playing pam pararararam, but now at 16 and 17, you're doing tararara, 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 tara. You're slurring it. Why? You have to be consistent. One or the other. If you want to slur everything, I like the way you do in the opening. So it's a an eighth note. It doesn't usually slur with that. And it's a jump, it's a wider gap. So those were not really slurred. They would slur more with up to a second interval, but not up to a fourth or a fifth, like that. Since we stopped, just a few little things. Think about the sound. If we go too much of the same attack, that's also not as interesting of a sound. Just like the opening. Pam parararam pam pa. Pam pam. Pam 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 pam. Keep the same articulation, which is really clear, very well done. But bring a little bit of elegance to that articulation. It shouldn't just be raw articulation of separation, but it should draw more from the stylistic character of the Baroque. Pam, pam, pam. Ornate, really exquisite in its shape, in its sound. It gets a little bit, it gets a little too angular, in my opinion, the way I'm hearing it. Pam, parararam, pam, parararam, pam, pam. You know what would be very helpful? I'm sure you've done it, but first of all, practicing each voice independently, so then you can hear, just like a conductor does by working with a certain section of the orchestra, you get a certain sound and certain character that you want. So you should continue doing that. But also you should practice very slowly and in legato, everything more legato, just so you establish control with your fingers to be able to delineate whether one voice is held, the other is moving. But this way you have this control of everything being close to the key and connected. Then you can free it up any way you like, the way you're doing separation, staccato, detachment at times, but you still have the overall control of the texture. So it doesn't feel like, well, it works on certain pianos, it doesn't work on others. You have the same control anywhere you are. And it's not forced, it's not driven to a point where you have to work super hard to get it to work. It actually works very easily. So that's what I want you to think about. Can we try it one more time, but a little under tempo, just for practicing purposes? And this time I just like you to explore more the musical part, not so much the demanding part of the intellectual and the feel, but just the sheer quality of the music.
Okay.
Try. And Emily, please, when you bring can you bring me more sound in the bass?
Oh, okay.
It's very important that when you're bringing the first presentations of the subject, they have to be bigger. After that, you don't have to do that. But the very first, 1, 2, 3, each one has to be dominating. After that, you can blend them. That's fine. You don't have to pound every time, oh, this is the subject, hear it. You don't have to. But the first 3 or 4 or 5, depending on how many voices the fugue is, you have to bring that quality. And you have to bring it with the character. So this is your soprano, let's say, and then alto, and then imagine the low bass. It has to have more round and more body to it. Try it again. Thank you, Emily. Measure 19. Can you hold the half note A sharp? It needs to go all the way.
Okay.
That's a half note. Right? Okay, okay. So let's do this right. Let's go from 18, but slowly. From there, slowly. Left hand, make sure you play the right notes in the left hand. Okay, so this feels a little uncomfortable when you're playing it slowly. That shouldn't happen. You should be even more comfortable. So that shows you that you need to go back with the score in particular and just really go over those spots. This is what I was talking about. Holding the long notes, quarter notes, half notes, you often just tap them. And you know, this is the important thing when you play Bach. That's why you can play Bach without pedal if needed. It's a personal choice. That's how Andras Schiff does. He doesn't use a drop of pedal, but instead he does everything with fingers. Finger legato, you hold the long notes. So the effect is such that you cannot feel like, oh, we need pedal. It's just not enough texture. It's perfect because of that articulation. So first and foremost, you have to achieve that. Then you decide, I will use pedal. Of course, there's no law that says pedal is prohibited. You know, the Constitution or the Bible said not to use the pedal. It's a free choice. He made his own choice. It works beautifully. You don't have to follow that. Some people say, like, well, he does that, I should do the same. No. But what you should do is what the score says, and the score says to hold until resolution of the G sharp, then the double sharp. So we have this linear progression. That's the effect of that. And a lot of times in your playing, which was really polished, I didn't hear those subtle progressions because you're so busy playing everything, but then a lot of the notes that needed to be held were not brought out. So that's why you need to go slowly. Let's continue now. Can you go from 20?
Yes.
Excellent. Bravo. That was good. That was good. So we have to move on because we're out of time. But as far as the fugue, take it apart with the score, individual voices practice, in which you will be able to see which voice is held, hold it exactly as it states. If it's a detachment, you do detachment. If it's held, you do it held. Do it individually first, layer by layer. Then plug it together without any pedal, just with fingers. And slowly, in which time you make sure that you bring out all these elements perfectly. Then finally you can go into your tempo, which shouldn't be too fast, by the way. Pum, parararam, pum, parararam, pum, pum, pum. Let it breathe a little bit. Let it feel like a dance. Not too much. Ta 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 ta. Not so much of this force. Almost with a smile on your face. It's that kind of fugue. I don't find this fugue dark and heavy and drooling. I find it very lively and just kind of sunny, if you will. All right, great job. Really, really well done.
Thank you so much. Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
The next performer will be Emily.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm good.
Great. Well, looking forward to hearing your Chopin whenever you're ready. Great job. I love it. Such exciting and vivacious, inspired playing. And you do such a great job with all the pianistic challenges that Chopin throws at you. You know, you've got excellent contrast between each of the sections. So, I mean, it's a really, really wonderful performance. So I want to talk about a few items, some pedaling things to talk about, some dynamic contrast that we can do maybe a little more clearly and a little more contrasting from each one of them. I want to show you one thing generally as a phrasing. You have in the opening, especially when it comes later, and I'm talking about, I'll give you specific measure numbers. You know, when you have this wedge that it's written like a V on top of the note, that indicates more up motion. So in many ways, the phrasing in the opening think of it, it's like the way you hit a bell, pam, 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 pam. So it's this way. Up motion versus down motion. That way it gives the downbeat more movement. Otherwise we can get a little hammered like tam parara pam parara pam parara pa tarara 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 ram parara ram parara ram parara ram tarara ram parara parara pam. You see, that's what makes a big difference. Then you see this pedaling written, which the pedal goes basically from the downbeat to the third beat. That doesn't always work in Chopin. And some of it, even if it's written by Chopin, don't forget he wrote it on a very different piano. A piano that didn't have as sustaining power still, even though it was a modern piano, it's still not the same as the Steinway that you have and I have, which is very brilliant, more sound, more power, more pedaling ability. So a lot of times you look at it and say, well, he wrote 3 beats. It doesn't work. Then another thing you have to look at. What is the texture in the right hand? Is it a long texture? Is it a short texture? Right there, you know?
Or
Yeah? So if I were to put the pedal, it doesn't really work. This can be done with a 1-beat pedal, and anyway, it's piano. And on top of that, he writes leggermente, which means extremely clear and extremely light. Now, if we put so much pedal, we're not going to be able to do any of that. So that's something to consider. I know we always see this pedaling in Chopin on his waltzes in particular, you know. It doesn't work. One other important question. When you use pedal, do you connect the pedal to the left hand or do you connect it to the right hand? How do you decide on the pedaling? Do you listen to as being driven by the harmony, which is in the right hand, or driven by the melodic line, which is in the right hand? Pick one that you think. The left hand? You will be correct 90% of the time. One very famous composer whose pedal is not connected to the left hand is Chopin. You have to think of the right hand with Chopin, with the pedal, not the left. So that's one very notable exception. You would be right, yes. Pedal is always connected to the harmony. Harmonic line typically in the left hand. In most composers, Beethoven, Mozart, Schumann, Brahms, Schubert, it will be all in the left hand, yeah. Not here. So I kind of want you to think of that as you also shape your pedal and shape your approach. If you start listening to how you can play the pedal according to the right hand, then you're not going to do. You're kind of going to go on the downbeat only. Pedal off. Versus that's the difference. It's very subtle, it's very small, but it makes the difference between a good performance and an extraordinary performance. And we always aim to play extraordinarily well, which you are doing already. But I want to make it to the highest level, So let's try one more time. So when you start the first one, this is like a fanfare. It could be a trumpet. Bam, ba bam, ba bam, ba bam, ba bam, ba bam. Think of this open, bright, announcing something important. And then the downbeat, upward, not, but it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1. I know the rhythm of the waltz is to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We always lean on the downbeat, but the phrasing here, the way he writes it, it goes dum parararam parararam pararara. Otherwise, it becomes ta tarara ta tarara ta tarara ta. Another thing to keep in mind is that he didn't intend for his waltzes to be danced to. So, it's a waltz, but we don't really dance to this piece necessarily. It's more of a performance piece in the genre, of course, and the spirit of the Parisian waltz. But I want you to think more. And then show the difference, the opening phrase. And now, this would be less pedal, by the way. And then, not every phrase is the same. So the second one, and then, so try those contrasts. Excellent. I loved it. Beautiful. That was perfect. Now let's continue in the next section and show me, just give me a touch of pedal only on the downbeat. 1, 1, and then let it go. Let's play more finger articulation, lighter, softer. Excellent. Thank you so much. Just one thing I want to ask you. Can you let go of the third beat? Don't hold it down. Up, up, up. It's a little lighter, a little shorter. Da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. This was great sound, by the way. Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. Pedaling, perfect. Articulation, excellent. Do it one more time and then this fix those two notes, two places that we have. Excellent. And same thing in measure 36. No slur. Ta da 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 ta. Excellent. Continue. Same thing, same thing. So another thing, in this section, we already did it before, so don't force it too much. Like play it more kind of playful. It's light articulation. It shouldn't feel too heavy. And it's very important to let go of those last notes. It changes the whole gravity of the phrase if you did that. Right on the A flat. Good. One thing I want to ask you. Can you show me once the left hand alone? I'm not always hearing the chords clearly. Here. I want to hear those chords. They shouldn't be loud, but the notes, the clarity of each note in the chord has to be heard. Can you do it once as a practice, left hand slowly? Yeah, so particularly those three are not as comfortable. Okay, I'm going to ask you to do a practice for me. You reverse the pattern. You start with the chord. I'll tell you the reason why we do that practice. You're so used to always going more on the downbeat, which is the single note. So after a while, what happens, the second and third beat, which are the chords, you play them lighter and lighter, and after a while, you lose the clarity of the notes. Now, in this exercise, you play the chords as downbeats. That's just for practice. You're not going to play like that, but for practice to help you hear and strengthen the chord. And I guarantee you, if you do it right, within minutes, you can improve this. Try it once. Yeah, not very easy, right? But if you did this a little bit, few times to repeat, you're going to be able to do this right away. I feel those second, this diminished chord, when you're in the middle register, you're not super comfortable there, generally. Jump. So that's why I think you're not playing it with enough clarity. So that's something to work on. All right, now let's do it hands together for everything. And continue. Excellent, excellent. Just one thing I wanted to tell you is when you have the chords, I'll show you the exact places. Okay, so here. Can you play legato in the left hand? I'm talking about measure 115. This. They should be all legato. Para, para. Bring out the left hand. Bring out the harmonic line of the left hand. Yeah, can you do it from the A tempo? And one other thing I wanted to ask you, make sure that you lean more on the downbeat so we don't get accent on the B and D natural. Lean. Try it from there. Good. I like it. Yes, that's wonderful. So now hands together, try it with. That's right, much better. And one last thing. Because we're on Zoom, I cannot 100% catch the nuance of the pedal, but when you have this, you may have to thin out the pedal. You see, you can do so much with the pedal. You can go halfway, quarter way. This is something that it's one of the greatest limitations online, that we cannot hear the exact nuance of the pedal there. I'm hearing the approximate, I mean the general one, but not the quarter and the half. So what I'm asking you to do here is to shake a little bit to a point where, and I'll tell you why, it's because of the right hand. You see, in the first measure, you have this long note, then because of the staccato 8 notes, you need a tiny bit of shake. So you don't lose the whole pedal, you keep it, but you shake tiny, so that way it doesn't blur out too much. Again, we will not be able to fully hear it, but try to do it as much as you can in your room now. Try it from there with that pedal. Beautiful. Even on Zoom, I could hear it. You have a good connection. Let's continue now. Next section. Good, thank you. I have a question for you. In this section, con anima, what is your understanding of that indication of Chopin? What does it mean?
It means like with lots of spirit and like animated.
Not animated, no. This is the one everybody gets wrong. It's not just you. College students, anybody. Con anima and con anime. With the E apostrophe E, if you see it, con anime, M-E, that means animated and fast. Con anima means with utmost feeling of beauty, tenderness, love, lyricism. It's very different indication. So as such, it changes the whole phrasing. Versus, we can make it very agitated and faster and exciting, but that's not what he asks. So here I want you to play more intimately, more. And then you go back to more of that playfulness. So many sections, so many characters within each section, but all under the character of the waltz. So enjoy that. Right on it at the con anima. And then look it up, Google it after the class. So you see exactly, what it is. It's a very beautiful, Brahms loves writing that in his music, but it's always confused. Everybody thinks con anima means animated, and it's not. Anime, the French one. Try it. Good. I'm going to ask you one thing. Don't use pedal on the A flat. So you use pedal here. Now, no. And then back. And even if you use pedal, it should be just a tap in, maybe only on the first note, just to color the note, but not to hold the whole measure. That's the contrast. Try it last time. Bravo! Beautiful, beautiful. Excellent. Now let's continue. In this section, I'm going to ask you to show me a little more contrast of dynamics. So when you start softer, but give me a little bit of crescendo by the third measure. And then come back. I need more of that opening and closing. It just feels too much the same right now. So show me that. like it. And what you can do, as you're getting bigger, you can use a little more pedal. So, you know. And then one last thing. Make sure that this is clear in the right hand. You need a little more speed on the first note. Just a little more. What happens sometimes when it's very fast, almost sounds crushed. It doesn't sound very good unless it's Gershwin, but not here. So a little more speed in the finger, and that will give you the right articulation and sound. One last time, and then we'll move on. Less pedal there. Less pedal, ram, pararam, 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 param. And then more, ram, param, pam. Try it right on it. Good. Now this section, I want you to take a little more liberty. I know it's not slower, but it should be played as he asks sweetly. So I kind of want you to feel that perhaps in the whole piece, this is the one place where you can have a little more liberty. This is lyrical, it's kind of sentimental. I feel like it's drawing on a memory of something. So think of that. Just almost like there's no rush, there's no hurry. I can just enjoy this, I can take my time, I can enjoy the beautiful chord changes in the left hand, create this long line in the right hand. Just enjoy it. Try it. Thank you. Can I ask you to do something for me? Just play once the right hand alone with pedal. But play it very freely. Like, how would you sing it? I just don't want you to feel that you're being hurried. You have to keep going, you know. Try it once, just hear it. Good. Now, did you hear the pedaling there? You're not going to use that much pedal. That's why I'm asking you to do this exercise with pedal. That way you can hear how much pedal you want to use according to the right hand. In this middle register, you're not going to use as much. almost none. Then back here more. Listen to it. Listen to how the register changes. I like it. It's better. I like it. Work on this, please. Just hand separately for next time, just to kind of feel that freedom. Now, plug the left hand and then we'll continue. Good. Thank you. Can I ask you one thing? Can you slur the left hand? Yeah. And next, param, param. That's right. Yes. Very important. It brings the harmony to the forefront. Try it from there and then continue. Param, param. Good. Thank you. So one thing, when you play this ending, kind of make it a surprise. We don't expect that he's going to stop. It's almost like you're playing the music and all of a sudden you cut it off. So more of a... and freeze there. And now, when you start the left hand after that, start with a new sound. Pianissimo, softer, kind of back. It almost like the music ended, but now it's starting again. So the ta-ra-ra-ram, pa-ra-ra-ram, pa-ra-ra-ram. And then with each one, you're going to go more and more and more and more. We're going to drive all the way till the end, and we're going to go very fast. But let's play with the audience. Let's let them wonder what's going on here. We've been going all the time. Why do we stop? Something happened? Technical glitch? Internet down? No? So let's have fun with this, okay? So maybe from there. Good, I love it. So I really, one suggestion. Very little pedal here, almost none. You really don't don't need pedal until from there you can use more and more. But up till that point, we're playing pianissimo, piano, middle register, a lot of staccatos. The pedal is only gonna obscure things. So use your very good finger articulation that you have, light approach, very soft, but without the extra layer of the pedal. And kind of start a little hesitant. Almost feels like stop right on it. Excellent. Bravo. Bravo. That was wonderful. Just tiny things I want to tell you in terms of voicing. You know when you play, I'm talking about measures 2, 67, 8, the right hand. I want to hear the middle voice. This kind of middle voice. So practice this just separately. It's very good. It's just a tiny bit more. If I can have that layer, the chord is going to sound much richer that way. You're going to get a much better texture if you brought that middle voice much more to the front. You know, it's going to be much better. And I love the ending. The first time you played it, the Accelerando at 293, you were a little cautious. And now you did it exactly like I wanted it, a little faster, and you know, you warmed up. So this was excellent. The second time, absolutely perfect. And here, the very end, do it in tempo, no slowing down. So, and so it's in one gesture. Ram, pa 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 pam. But sometimes we get, we feel like, well, we slow down with the sforzando, ram, and then tam, pa pa pa. It should be ram, pa pa pa. So ram, tarada, ram, parada, dam, paradam, pam, ram, pa 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 pa. Off. Very bright, decisive, exciting. Just the very ending, maybe. Yeah, and hold it long. Off. It's a fermata. I would hold 6 beats. Off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, off. Last time. That's it. Bravo. Great job. Very exciting performance. Congratulations on such fine playing. All right. I think that concludes our class. Wonderful to hear everybody. Great performances, wonderful preparation, great teaching. Pleasure to work with everyone. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Dr. Sarkis, for today's wonderful masterclass. We have Professor's Ichi masterclass tonight at 8 p.m. and a student concert on Sunday. Everyone is welcome to attend. Thank you, Dr. Sarkis. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best. Bye-bye.
Good day.
You too. Bye bye.